Welcome back to Bookstage and Screen. You're here with Samantha and Gordon, and we're joined by the wonderful Natasha Lester. Welcome, Natasha.
Thank you so much for having me. How are you?
Yeah, good, but our plate is not as full as yours. I was writing down everything in the last couple of days, and I'm like, okay, she's doing literary dinners, plotting masterclass, and she's got a book coming out, and she has 3 kids, and you do all these other things. So we'll just go step by step.
Sounds like a plan. And sounds like my life, in fact.
Yeah, the to-do list is long. But let's talk about your 4th book. It's coming out in, what, 12 days?
On March the 28th, in fact, so just less than 2 weeks.
Wonderful. So let's talk about that. That is Her Mother's Secret?
That's right, yes.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about that book.
What the actual secret is.
Yes.
We must know.
You know, my husband was reading the advance copy and he kept saying, I haven't got to the secret yet. And I said, well, if you got to it at the start, then you wouldn't need to read the book, would you? But no, the book is about the birth of the cosmetics industry, in fact. It starts the day before Armistice Day in 1918, and it's about Leo, who is making cosmetics secret in her father's chemist shop for the nurses at the local hospital camp, because at that time the only women who wore mascara and rouge were ladies of the night or film actresses. So even though women wanted to, it was very much frowned upon. So Leo's been supplying the nurses with this kind of clandestine supply of cosmetics. And she believes that once the war is over, she'll be able to start her own cosmetic shop and hopefully start selling things more in the open. But, of course, Armistice Day arrives and it brings with it the Spanish flu, which is like another calamity right on top of the First World War, and it turns Leo's life upside down. And she decides that once the flu has kind of devastated her village, that she wants to leave England behind, leave behind the conservative way of life, move to a place that is unaffected by war, and she decides to go to New York, where she hopes people will be more open to her cosmetic concoctions. And on the way, she meets a man called Everett, and the repercussions of that meeting flow on for the next 20 years over the course of the novel. So it's a bit like my A Kiss from Mr. Fitzgerald. It's about a woman fighting against society, this time for the right for women, if they want to be able to buy and wear cosmetics without being deemed to be doing something scandalous.
Fabulous. I love it. So this is your second historical novel, isn't it?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. And I'm starting to think that people who write these novels do it so that they can go on research trips, if nothing else.
Yes. Well, my husband's theory is that I choose places to set my books in based on where I want to travel to next. And I always say, well, why wouldn't you if you had the choice?
Smart.
But yes, unfortunately, I had to go to New York to research that book, which was terrible. And last year I went to Paris to research the one for the year after.
Right.
So now I've got to work out what exotic destination I should choose for the next one.
And I'm taking it the children and maybe the husband, did they go as well? Or?
Yeah, they did, yeah.
At least you're being... You're going to say no.
No, I sort of do a morning of research by myself, and then I spend the afternoon with my husband and kids when we're away doing that kind of thing. So we get the best of both worlds, which is lots of fun.
You do a solid half hour of research in the morning.
Yes, if only it works like that.
Beautiful. So the writing historical novels is different from what you started off when as your author career.
Yes, that's right. My first 2 books were much more, both contemporary, sort of, I guess, more literary leaning, quite serious, a little bit sad, and I wrote what I thought was going to be my 3rd book at that time, and it was going to be like those first 2. And it was just a book that didn't work. I couldn't make it work. I didn't like writing it. I got to the end of it and thought, if this was ever to get published, I wouldn't be proud of it. So I ended up throwing 85,000 words in the bin, which was slightly traumatic. But the good thing that came out of that, everyone says failures always lead to something better, and this definitely happened for me. I sat down and thought about what I actually wanted to write, and I quickly realised that was historical fiction. I loved reading historical fiction. I'd had this idea bubbling away in my head that I'd been ignoring because it wasn't my thing. But I thought, well, what if I just made it my thing? What if I had a go? And that was when I wrote A Kiss from Mr. Fitzgerald. And I loved writing that book. It was a completely different writing experience. Totally enjoyed it. Couldn't wait to get back to it. And was really lucky that it was picked up by a publisher and has done reasonably well. So it's been great.
Yes, you found a real fan base there. So
I've been very lucky.
Yeah, which has been great. And it also, well, I'd say it also has probably come from, that being your third book. People tend to follow authors they like, even if it's a different genre. But this would lead to people following you to things like plotting masterclasses.
Yes, that's right. Well, I started to realise that, I'm the kind of writer who doesn't do a lot of plotting and planning up front, and literally for me the story unfolds page by page as I'm writing, just like it does for a reader when they're reading the book, which is great in one way because it means that if you write something that surprises you, then hopefully it will surprise the reader. But it's also quite a stressful way to write because you just never know what's happening and you never feel reassured that you're going to get to the end of it, I guess. And so I began to think there are a lot of other writers out there who also write this way, and even for ones who do plan, there are just certain things about the plotting process that I learnt along the way, and I realised that if I could distill everything I had learned from writing all of those books into a few hours and hopefully pass that on to people, it might stop them from making a lot of the mistakes that I made along the way. So that's kind of where the idea for the plotting masterclass came from.
Well, look, we do speak to a lot of authors on the show, and yes, it's fairly it'd be more common than not that they sort of do it without a
wing it.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. I know when I first started, I just assumed that everybody knew exactly what they were doing, and they had these chapter by chapter outlines and scene by scene summaries, and I'm so organised in every other area of my life. I couldn't believe that the writing process could be so chaotic.
Well, it's funny that they say that, but they also sort of advise that it sort of sends you to a mad place of hell. So, how most of us are doing it. It's not actually anyone's going, it's actually the best way to do it. You should, like yourself, having a plotting masterclass to go to and go, oh, actually, that sounds like it might save my sanity. So,
yeah, absolutely. And the thing with the plotting masterclass, too, is that I do a lot of the real plotting thinking after I've got the first draft. So everything that we go through in the masterclass, if you're a plotter and you like to plan up front, then you can do it all up front. But if you're like me and who likes to just find out where the story's going, at some point you do actually have to sit down and say, have I got all the right points in here to keep the narrative tension ticking over? And so then I have a process at the end of the first draft where I take on board everything I teach in my masterclass and kind of see and make sure my story is meeting all of those points.
But it's kind of, I guess, a little bit like improv actors. That, and if you go and see an improv actor show, that you couldn't possibly write what they're coming up with and doing.
Yes.
So it's just another way of creatively getting to the end.
Yeah, that's right. Yep. And I find that writing this way without a plan, you get the most amazing gifts. Like characters will appear who you had never imagined would be there, and they become the characters who, apart from your main character, really drive the book and are the ones that people always say, oh, I loved Mrs. Whitman or whoever it happens to be. And those are the ones that come out of the unplanned chaos of the wonderful writing process.
Well, so to give us the details of your plotting masterclass for those of us in Melbourne.
Sure. Okay, the masterclass is being held on Saturday, April the 29th. It runs from 10 till 3:30. And we're having it at Bolotta Wine Bar in South Melbourne, because, of course, you can't write without a bit of wine.
What a coincidence.
We are having a lovely 2-course lunch provided by Bolotta halfway through, which sort of be a really nice day in that we'll get to do all of the learning and all of the talking, and there'll be the chance to ask lots of questions, but it's a great social opportunity as well for a group of writers to come together who are all kind of, in the same place and wanting to learn, but have the chance to chat to each other over a gorgeous lunch as well. So it should be lovely. I've taught the masterclass in both Perth and Brisbane, and it's sold out well in advance and has been really well received. So I'm hoping that some Melbourne writers will come along to the Melbourne one too.
And it is a quirky thing with writers as well, is they are so generous. Successful writers are very generous with up-and-coming writers with sharing knowledge, which is sort of, creating competition for themselves, which is, I mean, it's not really, you'd struggle to name another industry that does that. So
yeah, that's true. I just remember how much help I was given along the way and how many questions I asked of all of the authors that I met at courses and talks and things like that. And if I can repay that favour in any possible way, I absolutely try to, because I know how critical it is to just, be able to ask questions and get answers when you're starting out.
And what about when you were at school? Were you an avid reader, and did you do English Lit? And
yes, that was me. I was the child who, we went as a family to the library every week, and I would have a stack of 10 books, and I would basically sit down and do nothing but read for the whole week. I was never a very fast runner or anything like that. My world was all about books. And I loved English Lit. They were all my favourite subjects at school. So I was always destined, I guess, to be a writer, although I took quite a while to get there. I actually did a commerce degree when I left school rather than anything to do with marketing, but I got there in the end.
Well, you can't, nowadays to be an author, you do actually have to be a bit of a marketer and
yeah, absolutely.
yourself.
No, it's actually turned out to be all for the best. I could never have known when I was doing the commerce degree that I would be in a different career, but calling on all of those skills all the time, because you have to do all your marketing, and there's a lot of business aspects to it, especially when you're running courses. So it's been a great background to have.
Beautiful. Well, there's also a rather nice dinner you've got.
Yes.
What another coincidence. Combined with the holiday.
Yes, fighting is all about just dinners and traveling to exotic places. And these are the rewards for the trauma of having, got out the 110,000 words and finished the book.
Yeah, exactly.
No, we ran this literary dinner last year in Melbourne, and it was such a gorgeous night. Once again, it's at Bellotta Wine Bar in South Melbourne. It's run by Kirsty Manning, who's also an author whose first book is about to come out, and she just loves books and writing and authors, so she puts these dinners together, and we basically have a lovely room full of people. Kirsty interviews me and asks me questions, and I talk about the book and my writing journey, and everyone at the dinner has the chance to ask questions, and then throughout the dinner, obviously, I'm sitting down with everybody, just having a conversation and having a chat. It's just one big, beautiful square table that we all sit around, and the food is gorgeous, delicious wine. It's just a really lovely evening. It was probably my favourite event that I did for the whole of last year in promoting my book, because it was such a nice way to sit down and talk to people over a meal and have them, and get to know them as well, which was great.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, and Melbourneites do like to have a bit of a dinner and wine.
And why wouldn't we?
Coffee. Yes, exactly. Well, thanks so much for joining us and telling us all about your new release. It's very exciting, coming out. It's published through Hachette, yep.
Yeah, through Hachette. Yes, it is very exciting. I'm a little bit nervous this time, though, because everyone kind of expects something now that they've kind of read and enjoyed, A Kiss from Mr. Fitzgerald, so hopefully I won't disappoint them.
Of course, you'll deliver big time. It'll be wonderful. And you can be able to buy that through all good bookstores, I imagine? And
yes, Big W, Target, Kmart, Unix, all good bookstores. It should hopefully an ebook, and it's also available as an audiobook via Audible, so pretty much everywhere you can find it.
Did you do the reading?
No, because for this one it was very problematic, actually. We had to have a narrator who was able to do an Australian accent, an American accent, and an English accent, and my acting skills fell a little short.
That wasn't covered in your commerce degree, getting the American accent and the commerce degree? No?
No, mine's terrible. It would have been awful to listen to. So we've got a lady who is able to do all of them beautifully.
Oh, fantastic. So do they, that's actually, we were talking about this the other day, that we'd like to talk to someone who does do audiobooks. Like, it's an actor, or I assume?
Yeah, there are actors who do it, and in fact, a lot of them now really just concentrate on the audiobooks, because that industry is, booming, and they can get so much work from doing that, because it takes hours to record an audiobook. It's like a solid week. They book the studio out to record a book that's the length of mine. So it's a great week's work for an actor who's able to do, all the accents, and it's a big job.
And did you drop in during the recording, or?
No, because I'm over here in Perth, and it all happens over in Sydney, of course.
Right.
This is one of the drawbacks of being in Perth. So, but no, we listened to excerpts of it. They send you little extracts from the recording and auditions and that kind of thing. So you have a lot of say and a lot of input into who they get, so that you can choose the right person.
Great. Oh,
Yeah, that's a really fun part of the process, actually.
Yes. So have you met the actress yet on your
No,
travels,
I
or
haven't. No, I've just, as I say, heard these little snippets, but I'll be really interested to hear what it sounds like. I actually did listen to the audiobook of A History of Mr. Fitzgerald last year because I wanted to hear what it sounded like. So it's almost like a different work when it's in audio.
Yeah.
So I'll probably do the same thing again this time.
Well, that sounds fantastic. Congratulations again. Now, if we did mention a lot of dates and a lot of different things, because you're a very busy woman, if it's all on one, if they all wanted to find all that information at one place, where would they go, Natasha?
Sure. If they just go to my website, which is www.natashalester.com.au, and all the information about the masterclass and the dinner is in the events tab, and all the information about my new book is right there on the homepage.
Wonderful. Congratulations on that all. Thanks for joining us on Book, Stage and Screen.